Hi, I'm attorney Vincent Davis, and I've been fighting CPS for over 35 years. Through my years of experience, I've gained invaluable insights that I'm ready to share with you. If you're a parent or a caregiver or a relative, we need to talk. I'm offering a new opportunity for you to speak with me on a one-on-one basis. Ask me any questions, and I'll provide you with the insight you need to take steps in your CPS case. Members get everything they need to gain confidence and the knowledge that they need to support necessary to truly fight back. And as a special thank you for attending, I have a special offer just for you. Don't miss out, join us, and let's take that next step together. I'll see you at the question and answer event.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Bob Pace, and you've joined me to fight CPS with me and also hang on to your children. I don't know why I keep getting myself removed. But anyway, you just heard from Vincent Davis, who is my attorney who produces this podcast. I want to thank him very much for what he does. He does a lot of volunteer time in fighting CPS. Yes, he does charge a retainer, but he has special programs I've worked out with him. If you, for instance, can be on my podcast as a guest, or you call in to my show and you're on my speakerphone, then you qualify for a free 15-minute session with him, a private consultation for no cost, 15 minutes. Further, if you want longer time, I've worked out a discount for 30 minutes for $60. You'll see it running on the bottom of my page in my room. All you need to do is to go to a website. It's https:// candly/apps appttsvwd/Bob Pace. You go ahead and make your reservation with him. You pay your $60, and he'll speak to you for 30 minutes. Now, those are easy to do, and I really strongly recommend that you talk to him. He is a family juvenile dependency lawyer. He has over 35 years experience. He's a trial attorney, and he has fought CPS and won and brought home children. He's also fought CPS in civil lawsuits, both in the state court and the federal court, and won millions of dollars. So he's the real deal. He's a pit bull. So you have 3 ways that you can talk to him, 2 ways for 15 minutes. That's either a phone call or be a guest. Another way is you pay him $60 for 30 minutes. Now, if you already know him and want to retain him, he can be reached at 888-888-6582. That's the law offices of Vincent W. Davis. He has many attorneys specializing in all kinds of law, like divorce, real estate, workman's comp, immigration, criminal matters. You name it, he's got it. So not only you can contact him there, but you can contact another attorney for your legal needs. When you do call in, make sure you tell him that Bob Pace sent you. And then when you do speak to Mr. Davis, always tell him that Bob Pace sent you. Now, I'm glad you found this place. And I know that it's hard on you right now because you're dealing with something called the CPS. Now, what I define CPS is, the Child Protection System, it's a government agency that's a branch of social services. They have social workers that are supposedly trained and able to help you and help you with your case. Now, they're mandated by Congress to protect our children from neglect and abuse, and over 1,000 children every day are abused. and unreported. Now, there's two ways it's being reported. When someone suspects child abuse or neglect, a layperson can call in. Now, the difference between a layperson and a professional person is a professional person is trained and schooled in how to report CPS and how to recognize neglect or abuse. They know how to report neglect or abuse. They go to special training, and that is like firemen, policemen, um, caregivers, teachers, counselors, principals, anybody that deals with the children. Those are called professionals. The first person I mentioned, the layperson, is a really tough one because the layperson sometimes abuses CPS, the child protection system. And so every state has counties, and every county will have a CPS system. Now, I use the word CPS because it's easy to talk, because if you go, for instance, to Arizona, it's Department of Children's Services, DCS. If you go to Richmond, Kentucky, it's the cabinet. If you go to California, it's a child protection system. So the reason why I use that CPS is the child protection system. So it means everybody, either in the United States or around the world. And yes, I do reach people around the world. I have 15 countries that have text a message about troubles with their CPS. So I'm open to all people that are having issues with CPS, because what I've found out through talking to over 600 people in all 50 states, including Washington, D.C., that there is corrupt CPS. What I mean by corrupt, it's social workers that are doing it solely for bonuses and incentives, because that particular agency has discovered how to make trillions of dollars by having parents and their children taken away, families broken up. It's really sad because they prey on the low income and families that are experiencing hard times. Now, if you're very well to do and you have the money, you could call right now and retain Vincent Davis, because it does take a lot of money. I too had a case of CPS. I've been fighting them for 15 years. 5 years was layperson calling in false allegations. And then after the 6 year and 7, 8 year, my children were trafficking into foster care. Now, you heard the word trafficking, that's illegal. But the child protection system has found a way around that and do traffic children unnecessary. They'll take children where there's no intimate violence. They took my children out of school. There was no intimate violence. And they hounded me for 5 years. And I'll talk more about my case because I lost one of them completely because she was led to believe what to do, and the social worker was corrupt. There are so many social workers that are corrupt. The system is corrupt. Money is freely given to the state from the federal government. Then it's freely given to the counties. All they have to do is open a case against you, and they start collecting $20,000 per month per child. That was in my case, Orange County, California. It varies from county to county and state to state, but that's a lot of money. 3 children were trafficking from me. They were alienated. That was $60,000 a month they were getting for 3 years. That's what they were getting for 3 years. So I feel for you. I'm here to help you fight CPS. I've developed 5 rules to follow, things that I should have followed, and I would never have been in the situation I'm in. So, 1, like getting an attorney. 2, to organize your notes in a notebook. 3, to say no to social workers or police and not give up your children and not let them in your home. 5, to research the internet all about your CPS case. 4. And then 5 is create a special folder and envelope with all your important documents of your children, birth certificates, etc. in there. And I'll talk more about those 5 things. Again, they will help you. Now, I do know what social workers are like. They're the pink ladies in Arizona, and I'll talk about them. They're my own social worker that committed perjury on the stand and said that she would be revenge and she'll never see her daughter again. And she told her daughter what to do. I'll talk more about that. There's a social worker up in Ohio that put an advertisement from 1848, and it was the N word, which I can't say, but black children for sale. Black children for sale. Why would an ad be on there? And I'll talk more about that. There are lots of cases where an investigator went in alone with a child at school and took pictures of things that he thought that she might have been involved in. And to me, that was wrong. That was wrong. There's so much corruptness in CPS. You're in like Alice in Wonderland. You went in your yard, you went out in the garden, you found the rabbit hole, you fell in, and you met the Chester cat. The Chester cat says, go to this room. And you go to that room and nothing happens. And then go to the next room, the next room. And it's terrible. CPS is not your friend. They are not a legitimate organization everywhere. Now, there are pockets of good CPS workers. I've met 3 of them on my show that talked for 40 some minutes, but they're far and few. And I encourage any social worker out there that's listening to call into my show and tell me how you protect our children from neglect and abuse, and how you work with families, how you do your reunification, how do you help families. I mean, families need help with food and clothing and shelter and transportation. They need help with education and medical, even a job. That's one of the duties of the child protection system. Also, if they need to take your family apart because the children are supposedly in imminent danger, they're supposed to bring them back and do family reunification. That has them materializing. They've just take families for no reason. They know what they can do and get away with. You don't. You weren't educated or born knowing about CPS. There's so many life skills. And they used to encourage life skills in high school, but they've gotten away from that. I think life skills should be presented in elementary, middle school, high school, and even into college. Things about how to do a savings account or a bank account. Things about marriage, divorce, pregnancy, sex. I mean, even things like sewing and cooking. All those things have disappeared. And I think that's really important that we have those life skills. And that's one thing I like to see changed in our education department is I see, every year there's a class on life skills that last a whole year. It's only one class, and it'll only be an hour or even a half hour. Maybe it's only needed for a half an hour. But if they had that every day for 12 years at least, or for 16 years if they go to college. 16 years of life skill will go a long ways. They can teach you about CPS, teach you about doing your taxes with the IRS, how to vote. A lot of people don't know how to vote. My son voted for the first time, and he did vote. I was proud of him. Both my family members. Now, I'm a family father. I've been married for 42 years. I've had 2 marriages. Unfortunately, the first one, after 10 years, she bailed. That's sad because in California, people can bail if they don't like things. There's no working out, no counseling, no all the stuff that I wanted to do. She didn't want to do it. She just one day decided enough is enough. And she took my child and said, you'll never see your child again. And she's kept her word. She was only 3 years old. And on her birthday, she asked me, why do you have to go, Daddy? I said, I don't want to go. I love you. I always will love you. And I love her every day. So, things happen for a reason, I guess. And I know that you all are struggling, and I'm glad that you found this podcast. You found me on Facebook, Fight CPS with Bob Pace, and I'm broadcast on YouTube using the StreamYard application. Now, there are 8 rooms that connect you to this room that I'm in, and there's 8 places you can find. The first one is the Law Office of Vincent W. Davis. Then we have the reality series CPS, The Horror Stories. And then we have Fight CPS with Bob Pace, which is my podcast. And then we have Fight CPS Real Talk with Mrs. G. And then we have Relatives Fight CPS with Bob. Then we have Juvenile Dependency. And then we have The Secret How to Fight CPS with Vincent Davis. That's a good one, too. Vincent Davis, by the way, had office hours last night at 8 o'clock. He has them from time to time. It's a free podcast, and he gives them his time. He also, on Saturday, as you heard at the beginning of my podcast, has a Zoom meeting of questions and answers of how to fight your CPS case. He wants to help you. He wants to defend you. And I know that it's an expensive proposition. The last room is a CPS room, CPS Defense Strategy Consultant Vince Davis. Now, normally the 8 rooms will all broadcast in. We're having trouble lately with them being multiple repetition messages, but now we have none, which is okay. I know that they have messages and things there for you to read, but I'm glad that you found me and I want to help you. Now, there are several ways that you can interact with this podcast. One is just by being in this room. 2 is to text a message. Text a message about a comment or question about your CPS case. 3 is to be a guest on my podcast. And then 4 is a number you can call to talk to me live on the show. So those are 4 ways that you can get in there. So I've told you about 5 important rules to live by with your CPS case. And now I've told you about 4 ways to interact with this podcast. Now, my podcast varies from time to time. I try to change it, but I know there are new people in this podcast and they need to hear certain things. A lot of people do not know what CPS stands for or what is CPS. They do not know about, for instance, the ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978. They don't know how to make a complaint against a judge or make a complaint against the agency at the state level or at the federal level. Now, we have someone that just came in the room. Thank you very much. I'm glad you joined us. We're just talking about things in general. I also have over 100 tabs open about topics that we could talk about. Anything that comes to your mind. I look them up, I save them, and so the next time, and I have them for different states. You'll find it varies from state to state or from country to country. I also have an activity that's kind of fun called Core's Digest. It's an application that I've filtered to only show CPS questions and answers. So what I do is I read the question and then the answer and then ask you all for your opinion. I do have guests on the show from time to time, some regulars. One is Faye Manley from Richmond, Kentucky. Another one is Natalie from West Hollywood, California, or Akima from New York, Brooklyn, New York. There are lots of regulars that come in my room. Paulette from South Carolina is coming into my room all the time. And then there's people that come in and don't say anything, which is fine. You're not required to say anything. I just text Natalie to see if she could join us. She has insights about CPS, which is nice. I love having people. Well, here comes the rooms now. Here comes all the rooms. They all jumped in at once. That's good. They all jumped in. Hopefully, they're not repeated all the time. Well, let's see here. We have juvenile dependency just came in, and CPS defense strategy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Fight CPS with Bob Pace, and that came in one time. And then we have the secret of how to fight CPS and win. And then we have fight CPS with Ms. G, good. And then relatives fight CPS, and that is good. And the reality series of horror stories, that came in good. There's still a couple more that still have to come. Here they come. CPS defense strategy, that's the YouTube one, and it came in 1, 2 times. I think they're all in now. So hopefully when you text in a comment, I'll be able to see it. A lot of times when you text in a comment or a question, it gets blocked by these room messages. They're important to listen to. There's lots of information and websites. There's one about how to join the school. It's free to join. There's one to come in on Saturday and register and be on the podcast. Now, I just mentioned Core's Digest is one way. I also try to pick other topics, and if I have some in the room, it's kind of nice because they help me do a lot of things. There's one other person or two other people I think I'll try to reach and remind them that I'm live. Besides Natalie, I'm going to reach out to Faye. And so I just went and sent a message to Faye. And then I'm going to also, a person that came on last night, Danielle, who used to be on me all the time as a co-host, but she ended up dropping that. But it was nice to see her. It was nice to see her. And she does stop or occasionally say hi. So I want to invite her too. Let me see if I can find her. All right, I've invited some more guests to my podcast, and hopefully we're all through with the room shuffling. That sounds good, and you've had a chance to digest them and read them. Anyway, if they're repeated, I apologize, but that is how it is there. So, I told you a little bit about my case, a little bit about CPS and the kind of workers. Now, you have to be careful. I'm not saying all child protection systems are corrupt or bad. One of the first things that you need to do is when you're contacted by CPS, either a knock on the door or a phone call or a letter, you have to be really careful. They are a stranger. You don't know them. And they will do some researching. If you're once in foster care as a small child or as a teenager, they'll have a history on you, and they do come after people that have been once in foster care. They're looking for the easy prey, somebody who's struggling, who's down in life, maybe going through a divorce, or maybe having trouble with their children, or maybe they're having a hard time with the way the cost of living is. It is so hard. People that are wealthy do not know how bad it is when you guys are struggling to buy things. I mean, one of the things that people looked at elections is that they know the rich never feel what the people are, and that's around the cities. That's pockets. If you look at California, it had a red island in the middle of the state and all blue along the coast. There's people living in $2-3 million homes. And they don't have to worry about the economy. They don't have to worry about what to think about to put food is. I myself have been there. I had a beautiful job, and in 2010, in August, I had to close my general contracting. I've been working for 45 years, and at age 60, I was unemployed through no fault of my own. I was also going through a horrible time. I discovered I had a predatory loan on my home, and that was an awful thing to go through. And several years before that, I lost half in retirement because the banks collapsed because the predatory loans are given out. They were qualified people that shouldn't have been qualified. They're giving loans to people that shouldn't qualify for the loans. Their wages were doubled. They messed around with the report that it filled in. Because why? The lenders were very corrupt because it's about money. Every time they refinance, they get a big amount of money. The more people that can refinance, the more money that these lenders will make. And Countrywide was one of them. And I had a Countrywide loan. Bank of America bought them up. I sued them, and I won my case against them, but that didn't return my home because my problem is that I needed an attorney. So I sold my home. I did my home to get my children back. And that was sad. I had a beautiful home, a home that I worked a long time for. Now, my children did not get taken from me until I was 65. And that's a hard thing to happen to you. I mean, I'm now almost 75. On November 16th is my birthday, and I'll be 75 years old, 3/4 of a century old. I don't feel 75. I don't think I look 75, and I don't act like I'm 75. I'm very, very easygoing, very outdoor. I still enjoy surfing and skateboarding and riding a bicycle. I enjoy football, whether it's at the high school level or the college level or the professional level. I played football. I played rugby. I love sports. Maybe because I was an athlete, I kept my body up. I try to eat wisely, like everything else. It's really hard. And I really like to help you with this podcast because I want to help you know something. I want you to help to know that you got to be careful. Don't trust the CPS workers. Don't sign anything until your attorney's looked at it. And I keep emphasizing attorneys say, well, I can't afford an attorney. Well, let me tell you something. CPS is like open heart surgery. If you need your heart worked on, are you going to use a layman like a plumber or a mechanic to work on your heart? Or you can try to do it yourself or get your spouse to do your heart? No, you're going to hire a doctor. And yes, it is expensive. And, sometimes the medical does cover a lot of things, but sometimes it doesn't. I think insurance, legal matters, there should be some type of insurance you take out. So if a legal matter comes up, you can be protected. I imagine there's something, I haven't looked at that, but if they have insurance for medical, why wouldn't they have insurance for legal matters? Because if you don't have an attorney, and I mean a certain kind of attorney, you're not going to get your kids back. You're not going to win your case. You're going to lose your children because the child protection system is very rich, very wealthy. It's $1 trillion business. They have big time attorneys. And most attorneys do not want to fight CPS. In fact, when you look at an attorney, you want to ask two questions to them. One, are you qualified in the areas of juvenile family dependency law? Two, have you ever filed a civil lawsuit against the child protection system? And one, if the answers to those two questions are yes, that's the attorney you should explore further. Yes, they're going to require a retainer. I don't know too many pro bonos that meet that criteria. Attorneys out there, pro bono means for free. Now, there's a lot of good attorneys like Vincent Davis who'll spend a lot of their time and try to help you, but they have to make a living too. So you got to be careful when you're searching for an attorney and fighting CPS. Without that attorney, you're not going to get your kids back. You're not going to go very far. And you're going to say, wait a minute. They give you a court-appointed attorney for people that can't afford. Sure, they do. They want you to take that court-appointed attorney. You know why? That court-appointed attorney has a caseload of 30 or more clients. That means they don't have time to fight your case. Also, they're newly lawyers with only a criminal background, not family juvenile dependency law background. That's specialized, just like open heart surgery. You need to get a doctor that has gone to school, medical school, done an internship, got a license, and then mentor another doctor for so many years to become comfortable enough to go into your body cavity, take that heart out, and work on it. Well, it's the same thing that happens in CPS because you're going to go in there and you're going to be like Alice in Wonderland. You're going to be an Alice in Wonderland. And that was the person that climbed in the hole, the rabbit, and met the Chester cat and goes nowhere. And you're going to find that true about CPS. You don't want to take a court-appointed attorney, and especially your children will get a court-appointed attorney. If everybody has a court-appointed attorney, it's all pals, wells in the dependency court. They're not going to fight for your case. They're not going to be fair. They want to drag it out. They want to take it to your child reaches 18 and then longer. I've heard of parents that had their children kidnapped by the agency and brought in to the system and then lose sight of them. I had one mother get incarcerated. She got out. She wanted her child back, but the child was already transferred from one state to another state because he has special needs. And then he turned 18 and they didn't set him free. In fact, he's 19. I think the mother has the child back. I think she got him back when he turned 19 or when he was 19, because all he has to do is say, I want to go home. I want to be with my mother. I want a guardianship of me. See, that's what the mother's trying to do, is get guardianship. But the CPS never tried to search for the mother, the biological. They don't care. It's all about money. If I could teach you one thing in this room, that CPS is corrupt. Don't trust them. Be nice to them, but say very little. The least you say, and you should get an attorney that speaks on your behalf. I spoke to a lady from Merced, California, Northern California, who just hired Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis is out of Arcadia. It's south of Los Angeles, next door to Los Angeles. And he has cases in LA County, San Bernardino County, Orange County, and Merced County, up in the Shasta area, I think, of Northern California. And he's helping her. He's helping her, and she was emphatic that she got some representation. And I know most of you are going to, I had to sell my home to get money to have Mr. Davis hired. I sold my home, lost my beautiful home that had worked for 45 years of saving my money to get that home. My home was one of those $2 million homes on the beach. And it was a new home, it's private neighborhood, private CC&Rs and everything else. But I was no longer working. And when you're no longer working, and I put away money for emergency days, I was able to drag it from 2015 to 2017 till I finally had to leave the home. Or actually 2010, to be honest with you, because that's it. For 7 years, I was able to keep my home. But for 7 years, I get little jobs and spurts, but I couldn't get a full-time job because they don't want to hire dinosaurs. You know, it's sad, but that is the truth. They think that old people are too old to work. Now, we have a new president of the United States. He's 78 years old. That is probably one of the hardest jobs to be a leader of this country. You got to deal with so much, and he has dealt with so much. I never have seen a politician go through as much as he did. How he was impeached several times, how he was charged with so many, over 100 cases, criminal cases. People came forward and after him. They disrespected him. He was shot at 3 times. But he bared through it. He made it. At 70 years old, he's our president-elect. And I think him and the vice president, you're going to see a restore in the economy. I think food prices will come down. Fuel prices will come down. I think we'll now regulate our borders where it isn't a easy access. We are letting in criminals into the United States. We're letting in criminals. There's been horror stories of a girl running in the park killed by a guy from Venezuela that had a long history of crime. Or down in Athens, Georgia, University of Georgia. I could go on case after case that people have had coming here. Enough is enough. We need to close our borders and qualify to be there. Everybody wants to qualify. That's the way it used to be. You used to sit at that island in New York, waiting it out, where you learned government history, learning about the government, learning how to speak the common language of the land before you become a citizen. You had to learn those things. So, what I'm saying is the child protection system is going to be rough for you. I know that. I know that from extremely times like that. And thank you, Lori. Lori has been coming to my room since the start a year ago. And Lori just listens. And she's had different names attached to her name, but I welcome you, Lori. I have no idea where you're from. Now, I mentioned about how they interact with this podcast. We're starting to get people in this room. One of the first things are, you found this room. I'm glad you're here. And that's all you have to do is listen and take notes. Also, you can use emojis like Lori did. Thumbs up, smiley faces, or hearts. And if you like what you hear in the show, send me stars. And then below, Paulette just came in. Hello, Paulette. A warm welcome. A warm welcome. Paulette's from South Carolina, has a horrible case. She's trying to see her 4 children. And her husband has been nothing but a nightmare for her. And she's been on my show for the last couple of weeks, trying to able to talk on the show or to try to be a guest on the show. Also, please check below to follow me. I'd love to have followers. Make your comments. And then also, if you want to be notified when I'm live, check the notification button. So that's step 1. Step 2 is to text me a message. Now, all you have to do when you text a message, whether it's a comment or a question about CPS, please show your first name, the city or county the case was in, and the state. Now, if you're from a country, all you have to do is add your province in there and your country. And that way, that would be complete. Now, countries so far that have come in here have been from Bangladesh, from New Delhi, India, then up to the Middle East, from Lebanon, and from Saudi Arabia, from the continent of Africa, Liberia on the northwest coast of Africa, Rwanda, next in Central East Africa, next to Lake Victoria, Mozambique on the east coast, opposite Madagascar, the island off Africa there, or it could be a continent, Madagascar, but anyway. And then, of course, South Africa, the West Coast province on the West Coast. Then we go up to Europe. I've had England, Scotland, Wales, part of the United Kingdom, and then I've had Denmark and Sweden. Then across the pond to North America, I've had several provinces from Canada. Canada was on not too long ago. And so I've heard from Canada, and of course, all the 50 states, including Washington, D.C. And then south of the border, I've had Mexico, and then in South America, I've had Grenada on the east coast of South America, east of Venezuela, north of Brazil. Then across the Pacific to land down under, I've had Australia. I've had the Sydney area, which is the east coast, the Gold Coast of New South Wales. And then I've had the south coast at Melbourne in the state of Victoria. All those people have texted in and have asked questions or made comments about their CPS. And some of them several times. So I have a worldwide following, which I'm happy to say, a worldwide following. Now, Paulette has said, the demon, my husband, has our youngest son. He's 11 years old. Who has the other 3 children? Who has the other 3 children, Paulette? Ever since he got temporary custody a year ago, he has moved from South Carolina to Florida, then Florida to Nebraska, then back to Florida, now to Alabama, and I have no idea where my son is, and I just haven't seen him. You mentioned you had 4 children. Where are the other 3, Paulette? Where are the other 3? And that's been over a year. And I'm sorry to hear that, Paulette. Thank you for sharing that with me on that. Now, when you text in the comment, I already know Paulette's from South Carolina. So she's been on my show regularly, so I introduce her that. But try to be complete with your case. I like to know the makeup. Are you a husband and wife, boyfriend or girlfriend, lovers? Or are you just a partnership? And are both parents involved in this case? And what were the neglect or the abuse? The more details of what the charges or the allegations were. And are the same parents of the children, or do you have multiple parents with different children? Are they involved? Are you a single parent fighting all this? And then also, how were the children taken? Did you give them up? Did you take them to the agency's place? And then where you at on your case really helps as much as you can there. So Paulette has been talking to us from South Carolina. They're grown. Okay, I misunderstood you. So they're over the age of 18. So you just have one son who's 11 years old. Okay, and you're not seeing him for over a year. And that's wrong for your husband to do that. I know you work hard, Paulette. I know you're at work, and that's understandable. You don't need to call in, but just text in. Hopefully, at nighttime, you can talk on my show. Again, I remind everybody Not only am I on at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, I'm on at 7 o'clock at night. I'm on 7 days a week, twice a day. I've been doing this for over a year, and all my podcasts are recorded and available for you to listen to. And you find me at 10 o'clock typically on a Pacific Standard Time and 7 o'clock at night Pacific Standard Time, both for 1 hour. Now, there's exceptions. Like last night, I had Vincent Davis that wanted to talk at 8 o'clock, so I ended my show 10 minutes early so he could have office hours with you. And then this coming up Saturday, Vincent has his special podcast, that questions and answers with Mr. Davis, on Saturday at 10 o'clock. So I'll be on at 8 o'clock in the morning Saturday. Now, Sunday I'm on every time at 8 o'clock because I go to church, and church is important to me. So I come on 2 hours early on Sunday and then on Saturday. And sometimes Friday night, I have Friday Night Lights, which is high school football. But this Friday night, the team, my son's team, is a bye. So they're not playing this Friday night. So I'll be on normal time at 7 o'clock. Now, Paulette said something more here. She says, my other older two boys are 22 and 19, and they're doing amazing. No drugs, no drinking, no problems, no police involvement. Despise the demon that took their little brother and now has been shoved everywhere. And I'm so sorry, Paulette. I hope you have a relationship with your 22 and 19 and your young son. But I thought you had 4 children. I'm confused. Do you have 3 or 4? Maybe I had my numbers wrong. Do you have 3 or 4? Yes, you are amazing, Mom, because you fight because you want to be with your children. I know what it is to lose a child. As I told you earlier, I've been married, I have 42 years of family experience, but I also have 6 children, 3 young ones and 3 older ones. And my older ones, are grown up. They're in their 30s and 40s. My young ones were in their teens and 20s. And so, unfortunately, I was down and out. I had lost my job through no fault of my own. I had no income to go out and hire an attorney. I had to learn the hard way. I did hire Vincent Davis. I sold my home and got the money to get my kids back. I got 2 of the 3 children that were stolen. And as I told you, it was really a disaster when my daughter was told by the social worker to emancipate from their parents. See, the social worker was on the stand testifying about the adoption of my daughter, our daughter, by my wife's sister and husband. We did not want it to happen. So Vincent was interrogating the social worker, and he asked the social worker, what kind of parents is this lady and her husband? Furthermore, have they ever been involved in domestic violence? Well, the social worker, who was very young at the time, in her early 20s, said, they're great parents. No, there's been no domestic violence. Well, all Vincent knew where he's going with this. He pulls out a folder, and there's at least 30 reports of domestic violence. And it was bad domestic violence. It was physical domestic violence. That's not the environment you want to put a child in there. And plus, she committed perjury. She lied on the witness stand. She left that room and told us parents, you'll never see your child again. And she did a revenge. She talked to our daughter about divorcing her mom, her dad, her 2 brothers, her both sets of grandparents, and her aunts and uncles and cousins. And she did all that. Also, the social worker told her to change her name, and she completely dropped her first, middle, and last name that we gave to her at birth. Beautiful names. And then she was told to um, seal her birth certificate so that she could get another birth certificate. And it was hard. It was really, really, really hard. Excuse me a second. I'm going to drink. Okay. And then she was adopted by foster care. She got a new birth certificate. And I don't know how that works. How do you get a new birth certificate and say your foster parents are your biological mom and dad? Anyway, that hurt us. That hurt us. There's nothing we can do. Nothing we can do. In California, 12 years is when children can emancipate from their parents. When they emancipate, they're free to do anything. Change their name, create a new birth certificate, get a new social security card. Anyway, she's 22 now, and she still has nothing to do with it. Our sons still see her because we encourage that. And the rest of our older children have been distant since the CPS case. So it is hard. It is so hard. Now, Paulette has said some more comments, and I'm sorry, Paulette, to talk a little about my thing here. But Paulette said, I raised 4 boys. The oldest was his son from before marriage. Okay, so you do have 4 boys. So you have another one that you had from a previous relationship. Then you had 2 with him, or 3 with him. 2 of them are grown up, and 1 is still at 11 and still missing there. Okay, I understand now, Paulette. Sorry, I was a little confused. You know, marriage is hard. He was a hard child to deal with. He got kicked out of school because he plowed down a lady teacher. Well, that's not too good. And that was the oldest son. Okay. All right. Okay. He came to live with us 6 months of his dad and I being together. Okay. All right. Well, you welcomed him there. You're a good mom. You're a good mom, Paulette. You're a really good mom. Yeah, I know that. Parents will lie. They will lie and try to alienate you from the children. That's why they lie. That's why they lie. Wow, lied 4 times. Well, what goes around comes around, and I imagine he'll get his dues. I imagine he'll get his dues. Oh, you had 1 with your husband. It is so confusing. You have 4 biological children. I know that you've had. Sounds like you had 1 with your husband and 3 with other men. Okay, that's okay. That's okay. I'm learning. Try to understand your case. I'm so glad you're talking. Yeah, your older 2 boys are different dads. Okay. The 11-year-old must be the one you had with him. And then the oldest boy is the one that has all the problems they had. Okay, so you and your son had 1 child. He's 11. You had 3 other children by other men, which is fine. And you said the oldest has plowed down your teacher, and the other 2 are grown up and they're doing fine in college and stuff. So I think I'm understanding that all correctly there, Paulette. Well, people can lie, but as I experience it, eventually they'll get caught in their lies. God, I believe in God. I believe there's a creator. And I know that God does work in mysterious ways. And if you believe strongly and have good virtues, and honesty being one of them, you'll be rewarded. You'll eventually get to see your boy. And the problem is that you didn't use a attorney. And that's what the big problem that most people have. They try to use a court appointed attorney. And a court appointed attorney, it isn't legal what he's doing. You only got a corrupt system, a child protection system that wants to make lots of money. Okay, so the oldest, the one that you had tramped down your teacher, was your husband's child. Okay, all right. Well, that's fine too. That's fine too. But it looks like the son is like his father. They're bad people. Well, if he gets caught, all he has to do is be caught. If he gets stopped or pulled over and there's a search warrant, I mean, if there's a search for missing children, you can report your son's missing to the police. And if he gets caught, it'll come up on the police scanner and they will arrest him. If there's a court order that says you're supposed to see your sons or have joint visitations. So he'll eventually get caught. So you need to file a missing person. And you also need to enforce your custody with your children. Well, you got to try harder again or get an attorney to do that. Now, I have about 3 minutes left of my podcast. It's 11 o'clock now. I guess it started a couple minutes late. But I want you to have your full 1 hour podcast here. So, Paulette says, my local police says I couldn't file it. That's not true. You can file it. They just don't want to do the paperwork. Be careful, Paulette. You can also talk to an attorney about that too. I know it's hard with no money. Money is the saddest thing, but maybe times will change. We got a president that's going to get us. I know it costs so much. I know that. I know that. You got the evidence, but you need an attorney to present it. You need to know the law. You need to know the law. Well, I'm going to have to close my show because time is up. And there'll be, I want to thank Paulette, who spent a lot of her time explaining her situation. And I pray that you get your one boy that's missing 11 back. Okay, I pray to God that you get him back. I want to thank you for sharing your story. Please come tonight. I'm on at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Paulette. And yes, I agree. I think most people are happy because hopefully the workers like yourself, they're struggling, will start to see some help come in. Because, it's funny. The rich do not know what it is to go without food or to go without worrying about paying the rent or anything else. And I thank you all. Paulette, thank you, and God bless you all. And I'm going to go now, and God bless you. I'm going to take down my number so that we can see Vincent Davis's whole show. And so, God bless y'all. Thank you for coming to the room and listen carefully to what my attorney, Vincent Davis, has to say. Thank you.
Hi, I'm attorney Vincent Davis, and I've been fighting CPS for over 35 years. Through my years of experience, I've gained invaluable insights that I'm ready to share with you. If you're a parent or a caregiver or a relative, we need to talk. I'm offering a new opportunity for you to speak with me on a one-on-one basis. Ask me any questions, and I'll provide you with the insight you need to take steps in your CPS case. Members get everything they need to gain confidence and the knowledge that they need to support necessary to truly fight back. And as a special thank you for attending, I have a special offer just for you. Don't miss out. Join us, and let's take that next step together. I'll see you at the question and answer event.